Boundless Authenticity Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast. If you love this show, please like, share, and subscribe. Yossi Ronen is an Israeli author and researcher who experienced direct contact with non-human intelligences in 1981 while living in Los Angeles. His book, One, explores that encounter and its impact on his understanding of consciousness, communication, and human potential. He continues to study the nature of awareness and our place in a larger reality. Welcome to the show. How is it going over there?
Well, great. Much better in Israel these days. A ceasefire, and it's great that you invite me to your beautiful show. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being here, and I'm grateful to meet you. Everyone was telling me, from Ray Hernandez to Polly Rotterman to you name it, they're all like, you got to talk to Yossi.
Yeah, great people, Hernandez, and even, yeah.
You mentioned that you have had this face-to-face encounter. Go ahead and tell me the whole story.
Yes, it's a very long story because, it started with a face-to-face contact, and then many things happened. And a little bit forward, because the contact itself was not so simple, I'll give you a small forward. They contact me with two phases of consciousness, and that's why all of my concentration on studying this kind of connection with them is concentrated on the consciousness itself. It happened in 81. I was 21 years old. I was in LA for a year to work with my brother. He had a small business of painting houses there, and he invited me to work with him. And it happened in the evening of a long work day. We came back to the apartment to rest, and he went to his room, and I went to rest in my bed, and I closed my eyes, and the first thing that happened is that I found myself out of my body. And it was the first time that it happened to me. I suddenly saw myself sleeping on the bed from above, like from the ceiling, looking at my body sleeping. And I didn't know what is going on, but I felt very good in that situation. In those days, there were no internet or many books about that. I didn't know. I wasn't so much interested in this kind of things, UFOs or out of body or this kind of. And when I went out of my body, it was in a very good feeling. It was like I look for my hands when I was above and looking at my body. I was looking to see if I have hands, and I did have nothing. I didn't have a body. It was the continuing of looking for my usual appearance, and I didn't have anything. It was just consciousness. And that feeling was very good. I felt very light and calm and very curious about what's going on. And from above, in the point of view, I can see my body sleeping on the bed, and nearby bed was a green creature standing and looking at my body near my head that was turned to the wall with eyes closed, and he was standing there. And there were a couple of more aliens like him in the room too. And that was the first time I saw them. Because, as I told you, there were no internet or stuff like that. So I didn't have any reference to grays or something like that. But they look like the grays, but the skin were green. And they were standing in the room. And when I contact them in that situation that I'm out of my body, it was very good. It seems that in that situation, I know them. It's like, my consciousness was not like my consciousness when I'm awake. This phase of awakening happened 2 minutes after that. In that situation, yet that I'm out of my body, I felt good. I wasn't afraid or something like that. It seems like I know them because I'm out of my body. I know many things. I knew that I know them, and they are, and we had a communication, like a telepathic communication, without any words. We didn't have to talk. We just knew each other emotions and thoughts, and all of us. And that was the couple of minutes that I was out of my body. Now, the situation was very long and very complicated, but I will short it because the main thing happened when I was waking up. So I woke up from that out-of-body experience with my head to the wall. And I opened my eyes because I heard a noise behind me in the room. And I remember that situation that I'm out of my body, and I thought it was a dream. I didn't know about out-of-body experience yet. I was, very young, and I didn't read books or any ideas of out of my body. So I thought that I dreamed myself out of my body, and I'm dreaming green creatures near my bed and in the room walking, and we are feeling good with each other, and we love each other even. And I started to, I think, almost laughing to myself about that weird dream that I had. And I thought, what a crazy dream. And then when I heard the noise behind me, I turned around, sat on the bed to see what's going on in the room, and I had the shock of my life. The one that I saw just a minute before, when I was out of my body, standing near my bed, was standing there half a meter from me, looking at my face, looking at me, looking at my eyes. And he has a big black eyes, and he was short, long hands with long fingers, and I started to be afraid. I started to be frozen from fear. Even though that a minute ago I felt good with them, when I woke up and see them through my body, it was totally different. I was shocked, and I was afraid that I couldn't even breathe from fear. And I didn't know what to do. They were standing there looking at me. They didn't do nothing. I don't know if they were surprised that I'm waking up and see them once again, or it was in purpose, that they did it in purpose, that I could see them when I'm out of my body, and then when I was awake and see them once again. And now I know, I think that they did it in purpose, because that situation that I saw them in my two different ways of consciousness teach me a lot about my consciousness and them. So I was completely frozen from fear, and I didn't know what to do. And I really almost get panicked from fear because it's really frightened. I thought maybe I'm continue to dream, and I'm only thinking that I woke up. So I pinched my leg, to wake up, but I didn't. I was totally wake up. And that was the same creatures that I saw when I was out of my body. So I didn't have what to do. The only thing that left me to do is to think, maybe to remember that we had a good communication, and we laugh with each other and we love each other a minute ago. So I tried to think maybe the fear that I feel is only my fear, and there is nothing to be afraid of them. And as I started to relax my fear, I started to hear them in my head. And it wasn't exactly hearing them talking or something like that. I started to realize that he knows my feelings. When I looked in his eyes, I started to realize that he knows what I think. And it was frightened. It was like someone is penetrating your head without your permission. But when I lower my fear, I started to realize that I can hear, I know that he knows my thinking, because I know what he thinks. I started to realize that he knows that he knows my emotions, because I know his thinking and his emotion. And I realized that in a way, he let me go to his consciousness. And in that situation, I realized that me as a simple human being have this ability. And I just didn't know that before. I realized that I have the ability to contact without talking with other consciousness. And those creatures have it in a very natural way. And this is the way they communicate with each other. And in that situation, they contact with me. And when I felt a little bit more relaxed, my body was still in fear, but I could control it in a way and be open to his consciousness. And what I felt when I relaxed my fear was amazing, because I felt his consciousness connected to the other beings that they were in the room too. And they were like communicating like they were communicating with me. And it seems like they can have each other consciousness, but it's not that they are one brain. Each of them has his own personality and his own thoughts, his own emotions, but they're open to each other. And in that way of communication, they let me go inside too, to their consciousness. And his consciousness was really amazing. He was very calm, very peaceful, very humble, and in the same time very wise. And his consciousness was really wide, much beyond the room that we were staying there. It's like from his consciousness, I could understand or know what he thinks and what he feels, and it was very, very wide. And I felt his humbleness and appreciation to us human beings. It was not that because he was very wise and strong. The way I felt from him, that he should be, threatened, but he was not threatening at all. He was very calm and easy and wise. and appreciation us as beings like him. And in that communication, I had a questions to him. I asked him, did they came from a different star? That was my question in my head. And he answered me, without words. He let me understand what he knows by connecting to his consciousness. And the answer, I translated to words. And the answer was that thinking of him coming from a different star is the way I interpret a very different and long, far away place. But the real thing is that they didn't come from a different star, but they came from a different dimension. It took me years to understand what he meant dimension, but in that communication, I could understand that, emotionally and intellectually, but not in a rational way. I just understood what he means by different dimension. Now, after many years that I learned about all the things that is communicating or explaining the things that I felt with them, I can now talk about that. And that different dimension, it seems to be a dimension that our real essence is communicating, is contacting every time. So what I mean is that our real essence is a being like them, and we came to the 3D world with a body to have this experience as a human being, and we are very close. I mean, what I mean is that as a spirit beings, we came from a same family, and they come to us, and I heard it from many people that told me their contact, because I was very curious, and I heard many stories from people around the world and from Israel too, that they have the same communication, they have the same feeling too. They had a feeling, if they can go over the fear that it instinctively fear. Almost everyone have a strong fear from a face-to-face contact. But if you can go and get over the fear and relax and have the communication with them, they have the same thing, that they realize the same as I felt with them. They were very good and very quiet and have a good attentions. And the main thing is that they try to help us to open our consciousness to who we really are as a being, and to prevent us from, going the bad road of ruining ourselves because we are not aware of the real situation, that now we are in a body and we can destroy ourselves and the world too. And that message go to many others that told me that in the communication, they showing a warning to the human to be careful not to destroy our planet, because we are not aware of that, who our really are, and the real essence of our consciousness.
Okay.
Now I can talk for an hour now. Maybe you ask me or talk or say something. I will answer you.
Okay. So is that the most profound insight that you've gained from that experience?
No, it was only the beginning. It was only the beginning. The really profound experience in that meeting was when, in that situation, when they let me go inside their consciousness very freely. They didn't put me any border to their consciousness. And the ability to do that was amazing because they let me go inside and know what they know, feel what they feel, and really have their way of understanding reality or the way they perceive reality, the way they think, the way they feel. And it was different from us, but from the same being, but like their brain is working differently. For instance, they don't see the reality as we. It seems that we, like our brain, see reality in a duality way. Our brain, healthy brain, do that to control our life in this 3D world that we have to, be healthy and have this 3D perception and to be control on the space and time. But their ability is without it. What I mean is that they see the oneness of everything, and they don't have to see the world in a dual way as we do. It's a little bit complicated to explain it because we are so used to our point of view that it's hard for us to understand how it can be differently. And that's why, I wrote most of the book is after I explained in the first chapter the contact itself, like I told it now, it was only the first chapter. And in the book, I go bit by bit explaining there are different way of experiencing reality. And when I go inside the consciousness, I could feel or experience that way of experience reality. And because they see the connection between everything that they observe, it's like, when we observe the walls, the wall is different from the floor, and the different people and different stuff. For them, they see the different things, but they see the communication between them. For them, it's like a whole thing that they see the oneness of them. And it's a very high point of view about reality. And because of that they see all of the connection between the things, I realized that they are very optimistic and very joyful because of that. It's like seeing the truth and experience it in a different way from us, because I didn't felt any fear in their consciousness. I didn't felt any ego. I didn't see any kind of trying to hide something from each other. They were totally open to each other. And they were very loving from that. A very natural love to each other in a very natural way, And when I felt this freedom to go inside their beautiful consciousness, I was so curious. So I wanted to go inside more and more to their consciousness. And what I wanted to realize is why they are so calm and happy and don't have a fear, and why they are so much loving to each other and to humanity. And so they let me go inside their consciousness, and I was looking like the source of their reality, the source of this beautiful love that they have. And when I went inside, I realized that their consciousness is aware of a strong light of love that gives them life. It took me a couple of years to understand that this is what we mean when we say God, the creator or something like that. But for them, it was not a religion or something like that. It was like realizing that they are not living by their own, they didn't make themselves or something like that. They just aware of something very strong of life and giving life, that they live from it and everything is living by it. And we and Earth and the cosmos itself lives because of that light that give them life. And for them was very natural. And they were not, praying or acting like in our religion to that thing as an entity or something like that. They didn't try to understand it. They just knew that energy of love is the essence of their being and my being too. And for me to experience that knowing was the most happiest and joyful feeling that I have in my life. Because it was so strong and it was so loving energy, and it was giving so much confidence in reality, to realize that this reality held by something very, very good and loving. And it doesn't matter what happened to me in my life before, all the bad things I saw, all the bad things that happened in the world, the real essence that lays before everything, or the basis of everything, is real love, that we are living from that, but we can do whatever we want with that. What I realized, that all the the experience of life of good and bad, we experience because of our freedom to choose whatever we want to do. What I mean is that God, this light, this love, doesn't prevent us to do whatever we want. And that's why, we can damage ourselves without realizing that we are doing that, because we have the freedom of doing whatever we want. And we can get to a situation that we fall to a fear or anger or this kind of stuff that make harm to ourselves or to others, without realizing that we are not exactly realizing the reality. We just falling to a fear situation that gave us this complicity in life. Something like that.
So if you had to teach someone how to navigate through that kind of emotional and spiritual terrain, just to experience consciousness in a different way than the default human setting, so to speak, how would you do that?
Well, it's not easy, because we are so we just used to not to observe ourselves in that kind of point of view of who we really are, and we are so immense in our body senses that it's a little bit complicated, but we can do that. You just have to realize that you are a spirit in a body. It's like the body is like a suit. It's like an astronaut that have a suit that he can survive in a different star or different reality. And that reality has a 3D environment that the suit give you the ability to live and behave in that reality. So our body is like a suit that give us the senses to handle this 3D reality. But what we can do is sometimes, to close the eyes and started to look for our own essence that operate the body, that operate that suit. And if we can bit by bit go there, people do that with a kind of a meditation. And the meditation doing a similar thing that like trying to shut down the senses and the thinking brain and go inside and try to find your real own spirit that is the main basic consciousness of yours. And if you go there, you in a way started to realize reality a little bit different. And you have to, to learn how to do that with yourself. But it's inside of you. It's not something outside that you have to go outside to find it. It's something very intimate that each one of us have it. Each one of us have the connection to, even to God. In our inner self, God is there. And if we go there, we can start to, bit by bit, have a feeling of that. And each one of us will do it a little bit differently because you have a different personality. But it's in every one of us. It's stay there and he's waiting for us to, to be open to the real source of our spirit. And the thing is to be open to the body and do it with the body, not to shut down the body or something like that. If you can do that, with your totally senses aware and still connect them to your inner self with your senses, when you are awake, you will start to open your ability of consciousness. And there are many ways to do that. It's like we are concentrated in our left brain, and we can start to learn how to let the left brain be aware of the right brain and start to have a conversation between the two hemispheres. And when you manage to do this connection, you start to have the oneness in this duality. And it's amazing feeling. And it makes you very wise in everything that you want to do, in art or even in science. Many people that try to do science, when they have this ability to go inside their consciousness and try to find answers, they find it. So each one of us can do that.
So based on your contact and ability to telepathically communicate with these higher dimensional beings, what spiritual component or connection to consciousness is missing when a person says that they don't believe in or can't connect with, let's call it God?
Yes, it's, physically, it's probably to be concentrate only in the left brain that is only concentrate in this 3D world, like you work and you do the thing that you have to do with your ordinary senses. And if you believe that this is all the reality and yourself, it's hard for you to realize that you are much, much more than that. And, there are people that when they take DMT, for instance, something happened to their brain that little bit shut down the left brain not in a natural way, because it's the drug that do that, but it gives him a chance for a couple of minutes to experience his consciousness without the boundaries of the left brain. And then he started to see things. And the thing is that you have to manage how to understand the reality that in your right brain with your left brain, because the right brain is not your usual consciousness. When you wake up, it's from the left brain, but you remember your dream or your experience with the DMT or your experience with the being or the experience with the higher consciousness when you were meditate. And because you're waking up, you start to translate what you saw there. Because what you see in your right brain, it doesn't have the same rationale and logic and the same reality as your left brain think about reality, but you remember what you felt, and you have to learn a bit by bit to open this symbolic memory that you have from your left brain. When it's like very similar to a dream. When you wake up, you remember a dream, and the dream is the symbolic visual or experience that you had when your left brain was sleeping. And now when you wake up, you have to learn how to open the symbolic experience that you have and learn from that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I heard that there are many ways to do that. Like, for instance, there is a special music that you put with earrings, and this music connect the left brain and the right brain, these frequencies, and then when you close your eyes, it's like easy for you to connect between the left and the right brain, and you start to realize your spirit from your usual consciousness, from when you are awake. It's one way to do that.
And again, based on your experience with these beings, what message do sightings like orbs or crafts or being taken aboard a ship serve in the collective growth, and why do they seem to be increasing?
Yes, I saw that, I have over 40 years after the contact to learn many people. I almost, put my free time only to that subject. And I heard many people that they have these experiences. And the common thing is that those creatures, those beings, that many see them in a different way. There are people that see them short. There are people that see them high. There are people that see them like angels that love them, and others see them like bad beings. There are many ways of translating them. And I think the reason for that is the personality of each one of us. And the way our personality translate the communication. It's very similar to a death experience, a near-death experience, when, many people have death experiences, and we have many stories now because there is ways to wake up people from that experience, and each one of them say it, in the beginning it's the same, but in time, each one translate it in a different way. One can say that he saw his grandmother that when he in that near-death experience, he saw his grandmother that loved him very much. The other one saw an angel. The other one saw being. And I think that it's all the translation of the one that have this experience when he wake up and open his eyes and go back to his left brain. And the left brain have to translate what he experienced with his right brain when his left brain was shut down, or his brain was shut down totally. And he have to translate to a meaningful, rational way what he felt, what he saw. And the most close thing for a man that, for instance, his grandmother that died before loved him very much, for him to translate the great love that he had in that out-of-body experience, remind him his grandmother. So he translated to his grandmother. The other one that was very religious and he believed all the time in angels or in Jesus, when he wake up and remember the strong love that he have in that communicating with the being in this out-of-body experience, it's straight translating to his own personality idea of maximum love, and that was Jesus. So the thing is that in the oneness field of that dimension of God and all these beings that you see when you go out of body, it's all oneness, it's all one. And it's not like we think here that, one angel is different from your grandmother and different from Jesus. And in that oneness, all of them are one in one essence. They are all connected to each other. But when we go back to our usual life, we have to separate it to something. So we say it was a being, or it was Jesus, or it was... So the same with people that see those beings when they had a meeting face-to-face with them, and they go back to the usual life and say, I had a communication with a small being, or I had a communication with a being that was very bad and I was afraid, and he tried to take, to do bad things for me. That was a translation of the bad experience that he had because he was held by fear too much. He cannot be relaxed in that situation. And the memory that left with him was only the fear because he didn't move out of this threshold, the border of fear. But he remembered the experience, and the experience was very frightened. Like me in the beginning, when I woke up and opened my eyes and I saw them, it was the most terrifying thing in my life. I thought I got crazy, totally got crazy, or if these real creatures, they can swallow me because they were so strong. Only after I get over of the fear, I could realize that they try to communicate with me, and they are good. And the fear that I felt with them was because they were so much loving to me that their love from my left brain was like they're trying to penetrate me, that they're trying to harm me. But it was love. It was so strong love that in the usual way, you are not used to feel it. It's like burn you, that strong love. It's like you're afraid that someone else is going inside your heart or inside your head, and you wrongly interpret it like a bad thing, but it was only a strong love. So that's why people translate it in so many different ways of connecting with them. And I think that these beings do that for that reason. They want us to realize that we have a very high spirit, and we can know that by learning our consciousness. And if now that people tell to each other about their experiences with the beings, and when they had started to talk to each other, they realized that they really, what they felt with those beings was a lot of it was their translation of that something, of that oneness. And it gave a real opportunity to realize our wide consciousness and the ability of telepathy and this kind of stuff.
So do you think that there will ever be a time where contact is an everyday thing, or do these beings just prefer to stay at a distance?
Well, I don't know. I really hope that we will get to the point that we can contact with them and they will come freely. I know that now they are not doing that very open because we are still managing that idea even. Most of us don't believe that we are communicate with other beings, and many of us have a very ontologic shock from the contact. I have too. For a couple of years after the contact, I was very confused. I didn't know what to do that. For really 3 years, I was totally confused from that contact. Even that most of the contact was good, it totally blew your mind, and you realize that the reality that you learned before the contact is not really the real reality. And you cannot talk with other people about that because that they will think that you are crazy, because you cannot talk that you saw green creatures walking in the room. And, I knew with myself that it was so weird that I didn't say it to no one. For 5 years, I didn't tell it to anyone. So it's a great shock. And I know that because they are so aware of our situation, they don't want to alarm us. They don't want to do it in a way that confuses us. So they do it in a very slow pace of contacting people, and do it in a way that give us ability to do it slowly, to open our consciousness. And I see many signs for that. I see that the consciousness is getting open to realizing that. In many layers of our reality, even in science, in spirit, in people that have experiences like that write books, and people read, and it's communicate with their experience, and it resonates, and people started to tell to each other about their contacts, and together they realize what is going on much more. And we are like humanity, we are getting ready for that. We're getting ready to the point that when we have this communication, it will not alarming too much.
So along with that point, then, how is it that, there seems to be a mass increase in the interest in this topic? And so in your view, how is that actually preparing us for mass contact?
Yes, it's, what is happening now, like we talk, and I tell you about this story, and many people that have this contact telling you, and you put it in the internet and people hear it, getting them ready, to that opportunity, even to think about that, to realize maybe, there are more layers of my consciousness that I am not aware of. And as much as people talk about that, it's opened the borders that we have between our normal consciousness, our normal awareness, to our inner consciousness, and we will start to be open. And I think it's happening in a very natural way. These stories give it the opportunity to be open and to be ready for that.
I see it as something unique, but also unifying. And perhaps that is one of the reasons for so much intervention from other media outlets and, organizations with their, I don't even want to call it misinformation, because some of it actually has truth in it, similar to what you and other experiencers say. But I see that as the reason why you do get that aspect of it as well, in contrast. And it is interesting to me because I remember being just a kid in the 90s and first having the internet and somehow finding myself on like underground websites that just talked about these kinds of topics, and knowing that it was happening then as well and people were talking about it. But at that time, I was just a kid, so I didn't have the language or the capacity to really understand outside of what the media had told me, ETs were. And so, I think that even back then, there were more people like me that were like, I don't even know. This is like some fuddy-duddy type of stuff, crazy stuff, And now it's totally different.
How many years ago it was when you started to be curious about that?
I mean, you're talking 27 years ago. So I would have been like 11 years old.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. And you had an experience as similar to that, or something in that realm of communicating or experiencing something like that?
Yeah, I remember literally typing into, it was Netscape was the browser I was using. What are aliens? And the reason for that was because when I was about 4 years old, I started becoming aware of these dreams where this really big craft, if you want to call it that, would come down above my house, and it would send off this incredibly bright white light, and it would take me up into this craft. And then all of a sudden I would be looking out at the earth through a window, and there would be like someone on the left side just with their hand, just reassuring me, just sending that telepathic, that emotional energy towards me. And I think that because I was 4 years old, obviously I could hardly talk at 4. So let alone have that telepathic communication. As I got older, I got curious about it because it continued to recur throughout my childhood years into my teenage years. And then it stopped happening for a long time. And then around age 24, 25, when I started to have my quote unquote spiritual awakening, then it started coming back again. And I just remember being curious about ETs or aliens as a kid and not really knowing. You couldn't really find that much. You could find people sharing some stories on it, but it was mostly scary stuff, or at least not that it was scary stuff or intentionally. It was that was the language that the collective had at that time to describe those things,
Amazing. It's, I think it's, as much as I talk to more people, I realize that many people that are a little bit open more have these experiences, but they dismiss it, or even forget it when they grow up, and they think that it was a childhood imagination. It's amazing what you tell me, because a couple of years after I knew that I were talking about that in, I think I talked about it in a program in the radio, and one guy called me, a hypnotist, a doctor, called me and told me, listen, I'm very curious about people that have experiences like you. Can you come and I will do you a short hypnotic regression, and we will see what's going on. said, okay. Because I realized that I want to know more, and I started to be very curious on those years about that. I went to him, and he hypnotized me. And in the middle of the regression, he took me back in the years to my childhood. And he told me, like, he did it like that. Like he told me, look, like there is a clock on the wall, and each hour in the clock is a year. Go back to your childhood in the watch and tell me when the clock is stopping, in what year, in what number. And the number was 3 years old. And I told him, okay, it's 3. And he told me, okay, what happened to you when you were 3? And I told him, nothing. And they told me, okay, close your eyes and try to remember. And as I started to go back to that year, an amazing memory opened up. And I realized that in that year, when I was out in the playing with my friends outside, I had a UFO came down and took me for a trip like yours, like you telling that you remember it as a dream. And it seems that many people that have this communication, it happened when they were very young and their mind was very open. And we remember it as a dream. You know, you remember that. I didn't remember that only till the hypnotic regression, the memory came out. And it was amazing because you realize that many of us have a communication with them. It's like the inner side of us that is much more open to reality that we know, and have this communication, especially when we were children, and then we forget it. And it's amazing. Your story is so much alike what happened to me, because when I was 3 years old, they took me in a small UFO and got me to a place. And in my book, the most long chapter of this communicating with them when I was 3 years old, that I totally forget. Only the hypnotic regression opened up, and it opened up in a second. You know, he took me to that year that I was free, and I saw it, everything. It's like I saw something that it took me to write a year, that the memory opened up. And there was totally communication with that being that I came with him and we had a long communication then, that the hypnotic regression opened up. So I suggest you maybe, if you want, do a regression to that memory. And
so I have had regressions.
You had a regression?
And it has never taken me to that memory or revealed to me anything more than just that, which is interesting.
Yes.
But I have had other experiences. Like 2016, I was meditating and just in my apartment, and there was a window to the left of me, and I remember sensing someone there, but rather than opening my eyes, I was looking through my third eye, if you want to call it that, and able to see the window and see this short, gray looking being just observing me. And the kind of interaction was non-threatening. And the kind of information that was being transmitted was more like we just wanted to see what was giving off all that energy in this room. Almost. And then it disappeared.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's it's the telepathy is something that probably we have in very natural, even basic. We forgot to do that because we are meant so strongly in our body, in the senses, and the five senses, that we forgot our own strong abilities like telepathy. And with them, many people, when they communicate with them, they start to realizing that they have telepathy. But even though when they go back to the usual day, it's very hard for them to admit or to realize that it was true. They think they dreamed, or it's their imagination or something like that. But if you combine all the stories, you see it's a very straightforward way of communication. It's not invention, it's a real way. We have the ability to do that. We have the ability to make telepathy in a very basic, natural way. And we forgot it. It's like we are not paying attention to this ability that we have. And they are trying to wake up us to that ability in a way. And I think that bit by bit, with this way of telling these stories to each other, we are getting more and more confidence and more curious, and more people looking for that ability. And when we look to that ability, we will find it. And it's very, very natural and basic ability that we have. And I think that when we will get to the situation as more and more people will realize their telepathic ability, they will realize that we are connected in a very beautiful way. And the telepathy communication, it's more as realizing the connection that we have to each other. And and we are like had the connection that we are living in a oneness that we are not realizing yet. And yes, it's amazing, that you are now doing this sessions with people, because inside of you, you believe in it because you experience it with yourself. This consciousness, this awareness, and you are. I read the main highlight of your channel is. You can say it, the name of your channel. It's like
Boundless Authenticity.
No, it's another. It's something about the consciousness.
Oh, you mean the tagline where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness?
That's right. That's right. It's exactly what's happening. It's really this talking that we do with each other, and other people hear it. It's open up their ability, their memory, because probably each one of us, when he was a child, and before the tough world started to give limits to his mind, all of us were open to that channel of telepathy, of communicating with the other beings, because they are our family. And they are like, from my point of view, there are really, those aliens are family of us that know that we as beings came here to this earth to do a very difficult way of developing our consciousness by living in these limitations. Because like we choose to go to a body that block many of our abilities, natural abilities, to struggle with that, and by this struggling to develop it even more that we had before we were born even. And they know that, and they are like looking from outside and try to help us and trying to protect us and try to guide us, go to the right way and not to fall from, to oblivions of forgetting who we really are and this kind of stuff. It's amazing that it's going on now with people.
Well, I'll tell you a secret about how that tagline came to me. People just kept saying you should get a podcast, and I was like, okay, I will do that. I think maybe the universe is trying to tell me through all these other people you should get a podcast because of the frequency and the number of times people would tell me this. I said, okay. I sat with it. I meditated on it. And the name Boundless Authenticity came to me. But then I meditated on that and I'm asking, well, why that title? And it does go back to what you were saying about being a young child, how there's no filters and there's no information. And so when you spend enough time working on your consciousness, you realize that, yes, we say there's a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, but that's just more filters. It's just all this mind stuff. Everything that we experience is through the mechanism that we have given the name mind, right? And there really is none of that. But what then is a sense of boundless authenticity? It's that when you work on your consciousness, you realize that the same way that these non-human intelligences are able to communicate using waves, essentially, that everything is based on these feelings. All of the real truths, the information that you get internally is like that. And everyone else on the outside is now separated into these two categories of being either a consumer or a creator. And the ones that are creating are following these waves of consciousness, these different frequencies, these different ways of interpreting that as an expression. You following what I'm saying? So it's really difficult to put into language. And so that was what that title meant to me. And then I just heard in my head where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness. So it all came together through an internal experience, and I just started doing it.
Amazing. It's really, I believe that it's really our time now that we start to wake up to ourselves, to really realizing our inner self that probably is very, very spiritual entity that have a experience in this 3D world. And by this experience, he can develop his even more high ability. Because it seems that, when you are in your, like, without the body, when you are in the spirit world with God, for instance, it's all open for you. It's all you. I mean, you are in the oneness, and you are totally in a bliss and with God, and you don't need nothing, and you're just enjoying the happiness, but you're not really developing from that because it's all is given to you by God. It's like you get everything, and it seems that we like decided to go to this 3D world in a body of a human that shut down on most of his abilities to try to open it up with himself once again. And in that way, we like achieve the ability to grow more the nature ability that we had before. Because in that heaven that we came from, there is no progress. It's like you get everything and that's it. And you're blessed and you are in God's love, and you are in your natural happiness of being with oneness with everything. But if you want more, you have to go to a place that you will have to go like to miss something, or in a place that you will try, that you will have to work to open more and to have more and to learn more. And that's why probably we are here. We choose to go to that place that we have a body that block much more of our real essence. And with this body, we can do the work that we cannot do in heaven. It's like this hard body, these difficulties give us the opportunity to get to achieve it by ourselves, and not only by God that give it to you, as a present. This 3D world give us the chance to do it with ourselves, with our achievement, with our working to be open to that. And we do it with ourselves, and it's amazing that we can. But it's hard too, there is many difficulties and many sufferings, but it's all for a good reason, I think.
Yeah, it is very difficult. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. There's nothing that we can do to change that part of it. And I think for me, what I want out of this podcast is that people listen and they feel that something otherworldly is attempting to express itself through myself and the guests that appear and share their stories and their information, and that it does not mean to become fanatical about that person and their message, that it means to take it inwards and see if there's that telepathic, that transference of energy that changes their consciousness for the better. Because there are a lot of people that I meet that put me on a pedestal, and putting someone on a pedestal is a form of judgment too. So where they arrive at through their experience of me is that I think I'm better than others, or I'm judgmental of others because of the observations that I make, or they reject what I say because it's too painful to hear the truth. And all that I've said before that is just their pain and their difficulty understanding that everything that we need to know is on the inside. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, you put it beautifully. I understand, of course. Yeah. Yes.
And so it's
really.
Yeah, I would not grudge those people for feeling that way. And I'm because I know deep down that I'm not doing anything that they describe, that's just how they have interpreted their own internal struggle. And they're trying to project that onto people like us who are simply saying it's all on the inside and nobody outside of you has the answers.
Exactly. It's you put it beautifully. You know, you are young, but you got a lot of information already. It took. I mean, I have more than 40 years of time to digest what started in that contact with them, and it's really like that. You know, it's not easy to a person that didn't have experiences like us to realize and to understand that it's something. It sometimes threatened them. It's something. Sometimes it gives them fear. You know, it's very natural. It's like I remember, you know, the beginning of the contact with them. It was totally frightened. I think I almost died from fear. My heart began to, you know, very widely stuck in the fear because it was something that I don't know how to swallow. I don't know how to understand. I don't know how to realize. But, you know, this is the beginning of opening the mind to something new. And it's so, you know, 5 years I even didn't tell it to no one. I didn't tell this contact that I have to no one because I knew that I will say that I'm crazy. And the first one that I told him about this contact that I have was my mother. 5 years after the contact. And I remember that I came to my mother and I told her, listen, I have something very important to tell you that I have. When I was in the United States, you know, it was only a year and when I was in the United States and I came back to Israel. And after 5 years that I knew that I want to talk about it, to start to talk about it, the first one was my mother because I was confident, you know, she's a person that loves me. She's not going to judge me too much. So I told her about the contact. And the reaction that she had was not so good. She started to have tears. She started to cry. And she told me, listen, probably you took heavy drugs there and you lost my mind or something like that, that you tell me that story. I'm very sad now that you... And you know, it wasn't the first time that I have this reaction. It's very natural that people that don't have experiences like that cannot digest it. It's too far out. It's too, and but you know, even my mother now know it was true because. You know, in the years that there are now channels in the television like History Channel and this kind of that they talk about aliens, that they talk about communication, that they talk about spirit. And she saw that programs and now she believed me, you know, but I really understand that people. And I'm very patient with them. I'm not forcing them. It's okay. I mean, I think that if I didn't have these experiences myself, I will react the same. Because only when you have the experience and you experience it with yourself, you can understand it. And now that it's open, many more people can understand it and can believe you and can share their experiences. So I think we are going in a good road to it to be open. And these programs that we do, that I'm talking in, and you have a program and you invite people to talk about that, it opens the mind of people to the real richness of the oneness, and that we are not alone. And there is love above that keep us, and there is a real good meaning for our life here, even when we have the bad experiences. It's the body experiences that we are having now to only for the school, only for the learning, and our real soul is not damaged by that. It's okay. We can live and have it in a good or a bad way. It's okay. It's a school here, and it have good reasons for the good, even for the bad. It's only a short time that we came here by purpose, by choice, to learn, because it's a good school here, because we have many boundaries. And because these boundaries, we have a good chance to do something with our ability to open the boundaries. In heaven, there are no boundaries. You are contacting with the light of love and God all the time. You don't have to struggle to get nothing. Here you can have the chance to learn because of the struggling that you have, and even bring more light to the body, to reality by this learning. And it's good. It's a good experience that we have here. Good meaning for that.
Well, I absolutely agree. Yossi, I'm really grateful that we met and we had this conversation. Thanks for being on the Boundless Authenticity podcast. Just tell everyone where they can find you and your book.
You can find the book on Amazon. It's in English, Hebrew, and the name is One Face-to-Face Contact, Experiencing ET Consciousness and the Human Consciousness Evolution. This is the short name of the book is One Face-to-Face Contact. And you can find it on Amazon. And if someone have problem with money to buy this book, he can write me a mail, and I will send him the book that he can read. It's okay. But you can find it on Amazon. It's One Face-to-Face Contact, and you will see the book.
Fantastic. Thanks for being on Boundless Authenticity.
Yes, thank you for letting me talking with you here. Thank you very much.
And thanks to Polly Rodman for making this happen. She's such a sweet person.
She is very sweet and amazing. She's like doing a great job for all of us by these things that she did.
Absolutely. Polly inspires me daily to do better.
Yeah, she's amazing. Really, really special soul that she has.
You're listening to the Boundless Authenticity podcast, where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness.
At the very least, people need to understand that the United States builds bunkers, which are basically cities underground, every 3 months.
Basically, when you dream, you tap into your subconscious. It is your nocturnal intuition, your creativity and imagination unchained from conscious reason, ego and logic.
They're biologically alive, but they have no soul. They have AI consciousness. They can alter your conscious of the brain to get the brain.
We live in a multidimensional reality, whether it comes through esoteric information in the spiritual realms, or the UFO people, experiencers, or mainstream through quantum physics and through mainstream science now realizing that parallel dimensions probably exist.
We're all spiritual beings. We're all having these human experiences. We've heard that phrase over and over and over. But what does that really mean? All the big questions questions of life. We have these answers inside of our souls.
We're ultimately studying the nature of what it is to be human, good and evil, our psychology, how we think, and our health. That's why I love Bruce Lee's great quote, all knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge.
The Boundless Authenticity Podcast.